question about that, Mina. The next 2 years are going to be very painful from a salary cap perspective when Deshaun Watson almost assuredly won't be on the roster. I think a lot of us probably already felt this way, but today was yet another, to me, message from the Cleveland Browns that the quarterback of their future is not on the roster right now. They have 2 first-round picks in the 2027 NFL draft. That's probably when they will acquire their quarterback of the future. And I know that Shedeur Sanders fans are a very passionate bunch and probably feel like he is or can be the answer for Cleveland. If the Browns felt that way, he'd be starting from the very beginning of the season. Because if you believe in enough in a player to be your QB1 of the future, you're going to believe in enough in that player to start week 1. I read this as the Browns are going to let Deshaun Watson start the season. At some point, we're all going to realize the clock has reached midnight on him as the Browns starting quarterback. There will be a lot less pressure on Shedeur Sanders because you've already seen what Deshaun Watson brings to the table. And then Shedeur Sanders will play the rest of the year because for a young quarterback, those reps are valuable. And figuring out what level of quarterback can be in the NFL. Right now, they're telling us it's not a high-level starter.
I was shocked that they went with Deshaun Watson. If this was strictly football, it would be a coin flip to me. 50-50, start the guy that you want. If you want to go with the veteran Watson, go ahead. But for a franchise that has the passionate fan base that Cleveland does and has been searching for a quarterback that they can kind of get behind, certainly for 2 decades and since Baker Mayfield, and the way that Deshaun Watson handled that press conference, I was shocked. And that has to be a little bit more about it than other than just football. I thought Deshaun played okay in preseason week 1. I thought he was really bad this past Saturday. I thought Shedeur played okay in week 1, and I thought he was okay in week 2. So to go with Deshaun Watson, outside of the people continuously pointing out the contract and the picks given up for him, I just can't find one reason to what I've seen on tape.
You have this coach that is really detail-oriented, and he's going to try to always get the best, always make the right choice, not a good choice, the right choice. And then you have this quarterback that sits there and probably is going, I could kind of make any choice the right one because I'm so talented. And that's going to be the push and pull this year between them. And I think that plays the perfect microcosm of.
Just give me the name of the team we're not talking about enough right now.
Ooh, probably Jacksonville.
Okay, now. Ooh, there we go. You have the floor.
I think Trevor Lawrence last year took a step forward. He started playing with a little bit of his confidence raised. I was on a podcast with Dominique Foxworth last season, and it was getting close to the playoff run. And I just felt like Trevor and what he kind of unloaded, like maybe a lot of baggage or a lot of stuff that he felt like he had to carry and just kind of start playing football and not worrying about the outcome. And you could see it for me visibly. I could see him kind of shed this I'm not what I'm supposed to be, and I've been drafted so high, and we know I've been drafted 1, and the expectation. But here's the thing: for this is a young football team with a lot of really good skill position players. Up front, they play well. Defensively, I didn't think they got a lot of credit for what they did down the stretch. They got to make some improvements on the back end. But up front, this team was phenomenal. I think there's a kind of a undergirdle of what they can be. I don't think anybody will be shocked if they're good, but I think they got a chance to be super good and explosive. You know why I'm excited about Dallas? And it's weird because it's been quiet. It's been quiet. The George Pickens thing could have turned into what it normally turns into, and it didn't. Now, it takes both parties to come to an agreement and everything to get settled and situated. He's in camp, playing out of his mind based on the reports that I've heard, and there's no noise from that regard. You just Quentin Williams gets his contract done. No noise, just going about the business of getting it done. You got Rashawn Gary, who was traded. That's not loud, but that could be super effective. I think Rashawn Gary is a really good football player. The Von Miller signing, it was very unassuming to get that type of player. And obviously, Von is not the Von we think about that's going to be a gold jacket guy, but he did have 9 sacks last year. The drafting of Caleb Downs just felt super mature, right? Like everything you hear about Caleb Downs, mature football player, the history of safeties here with Darren Woodson, obviously, and the quarterbacking of the defense. The young linebackers have been playing well. The guys are showing up. But more importantly, man, just it's been business as usual. You know, camp fights, cool. I don't mind that. That shows you got some fight in you. You know, you got to deal with that. But outside of that, man, just quiet and to your point, going about their business. Rich, I think this team, and I say this like I'm walking a tightrope, I think they're going to be very good. I think this is going to be a very good football team. I think this defense is going to be really, really good as well, and good enough for what that offense should be doing week in and week out to give anybody they play against a game.
Beyond that, when we talk about the money involved, they're married to Deshaun Watson. For better or worse, they don't have a choice. The money, in my mind, has cemented the fact that he's going to be there now, and I would guess next year. If they had released him today, they would have had to eat $41 million against the cap this year and taken a dead cap hit next year of $86.21 million, one of the largest dead cap hits in the history of the NFL. So they're stuck with Deshaun Watson. This is a product of restructuring his contract over and over, taking a bad contract and complicating it.
What do you think is going on in the Browns locker room right now? Your best guess.
Rich, let me, I've been hearing the banter, and obviously Deshaun been named the starter. News broke this morning from Shefty. It's about $230 million. The locker room, not important. This is ownership unwilling to to admit that they made a tremendous mistake bringing Deshaun Watson in. It hasn't worked out since he's arrived there. Unfortunately, he suffered injuries that have derailed him. I think he's missed almost 50 games, 40-something plus games since he's shown up there. But this is when we have conversations about the business of football. It's simple for me. I mean, Shedeur Sanders should be the starter. One, because you need to figure out if he can play at a very high level. From a pragmatic standpoint, if he plays well and you still want to move on because you got those first round picks, now you've increased value for a trade, which would help your organization and franchise. But this is ownership. This had nothing to do with Todd Monken or Andrew Berry. This is about 230 guaranteed to a player who was coming out of Houston with all of those allegations and dealing with a lot of turmoil. Mentally, I think Deshaun is obviously wrecked from that standpoint, trying to perform with that going on. And now, the recent press conference is standing up there and talking about the fans and his response to the fans and the booing. I don't think any player should be booed when they get injured, no matter what the circumstances is. But that happened. And but the tumultuous relationship that has ensued since he's shown up there suggests he shouldn't even be on the team. He shouldn't even be in the locker room.
Dano, as of right now, both Jordan Love, and Bo Nix are scheduled to play. Don't know how much they're going to play. Love only played about a series last week, but even if it is only like one series, if you're a fan of these respective teams or just you watching this game, like what are you taking from that one series that you see? A lot of people, I think, for whatever reason, don't give Bo Nix the credit that he deserves. He was awesome down the stretch last year,
truly.
Arguably maybe the best quarterback in the NFL. And a lot of people are saying, hey, we need to see his mobility, see what he looks like. But for that game in particular, what are you looking for from both of those guys?
Yeah, Bo was about as clutch as there was in the NFL last year, specifically to Bo Nix, because this was a flaw and an issue last year, was just hyper feet. I want to see his feet calmer. That started to be the case as, the back end of the season went on last year. There's still moments where I think it's just his style of play. There's a little bit of, competitive, I'm a linebacker type of mentality with him. So not as hyper feet. I want to see, the connection that he has with Waddle. And then for Jordan, the connection he has with Golden. This is a really talented, both teams are really talented offenses. Both quarterbacks are really good players that are probably undervalued at the position. But for the Packers to be what I expect them to be, and certainly Jordan individually, Golden's going to have to be a huge, huge part of their offense pass game wise. And you guys know how I feel or where I stand about Denver. I think they're as talented a roster there is in football outside of the Rams.